What made you so positive about using it in the first place?
Well, I grew up smoking marijuana. It's something that I did. I really understand marijuana. I stopped smoking marijuana all the time because I found it to be an impairment. But that should be a person's choice. So I'm familiar certainly with marijuana use, and when that happened, I just thought that it perhaps would really help me out a lot, and it did.
So would you use it again if you ever put in that situation?
Absolutely, okay. Yes, absolutely.
But you've learned to step away from it and see that it does have a very specific use.
Well, it does have a specific use, and another thing I'll share with you right now is that I was a child insomniac. I grew up as an insomniac. I could not sleep. There's too many things on my mind. When I smoked marijuana the first time when I was 18, that turned off the insomniac switch. And I'm not saying I smoked marijuana, I could sleep. I'm talking about I smoked marijuana one time and it turned off the insomniac switch.
Wow. That's impressive. I've never heard that before. I'm starting to learn a little bit more about how cannabis affects sleep.
I talked to someone in neurosciences in New York a couple of weeks ago and told that to him, and he actually gave me the scientific explanation for why that actually did happen.
It makes sense in terms of, I understand that our brains are very plastic and that they can be changed very rapidly. So aside from the specifics, do you know the specifics? Would you be able to share that? Or?
Well, very, I'm really speaking with a broad brush.
Of course.
But the notion that there's a certain amount of activity in your brain, and that activity in insomniacs overcomes everything else, and that smoking marijuana softens that to the point that you could actually cause that imbalance or balance one time, and once that balance got established, it would stay that way.
It's kind of like plugging the extension cord in somewhere. So tying into our medical system, considering physicians in America tend to be put on a pedestal, and a lot of people tend to do what their doctors tell them. What are some of your ideas that you may have about educating the public that there are other health options like acupuncture, cannabis? I understand your son is also pursuing a career in Oriental medicine. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so how do you think we can go about empowering the people to understand that it's our choice?
You know, I think that I think there is a wellness component that so many of us are aware of, and so many of us are not aware of. What we eat, our physical activity, the combination of the two, our mental well-being. I think the country right now is at a crossroads here with regard to alternatives, and the alternatives are exciting, really exciting, a lot less costly and more effective. So in my own life, I really feel like I've achieved that balance, if you will, and I think there's opportunity for that message to resonate with millions of Americans that it currently doesn't resonate with. There's a reason you take antacid tablets, meaning there isn't actually a reason to take antacid tablets. You ought to take the fact that you have gas for changing your eating habits.
Right. Let's go back to the root of the problem here.
The fact that you're taking Tylenol for headaches, and please, I realize this is I am speaking here with a broad brush because so many do have issues that only Western drugs do actually impact.
There's definitely an appropriate place.
There is a place for everything, but as a whole, I think Americans take too many medications. We take medications for nasal congestion. Well, there's a reason for nasal congestion. And rather than take the congestion medicine and breathe, shouldn't we actually be looking at root causes? Anti-reflux medication. If anti-reflux medication did not exist, when you experience reflux, you would stop whatever it is that causes that, whether it was drinking too much wine or eating something that you shouldn't have eaten. Well, now we have anti-reflux medication, so those habits go unchanged, and that may actually be a cause of other more serious side effects.
And of course, this is all speaking from a patient's perspective and our own experience. Not being a physician, it's hard to really get at the details. But as an observer, of course, we live in our own bodies. We notice these changes, and I think those of us who have gone down these paths of some alternative approach to healing, that we feel the difference. And so that raises a question. It's kind of like, for me, the gateway experience with marijuana. When I tried marijuana, I didn't want to try other drugs, but I asked the question, what else are they not, the institutions, if you will, not telling me, because cannabis wasn't as harmful. So
yeah, right. I went to the doctor once because I had this real pain in my arm when I lifted weights a certain way.
Did he tell you just don't do that?
He did, and it was profound. And it was profound because that's exactly what he should have said. And if you could just relate that experience to the rest of our lives and what we do in our own lives, and that we're not paying attention to what our own bodies are telling us, then...
Education has been a major topic of conversation in our country for a long time. And it's interesting that we spend so much money on our school system, yet it appears as though the educational literacy rate seems to be dropping. From my research, it appears that in World War I, we had about a 98% literacy rate at a 6th grade reading level. And today, it is about 40% of the country is capable of reading above a 4th grade reading level. So looking at the bigger picture here, what do you see are some solutions to these problems?
Well, the bigger picture, that we should have alternatives. We have a one-size-fits-all, and really that's what we have. Now, we do have private educational opportunities that even people that don't have a lot of money take advantage of, because there are those choices. So as governor of New Mexico, I promoted bringing competition to public education and advocated school vouchers, which I think would have done that. I just think that there are so many wonderful alternatives to education than showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, chained, if you will, to a desk, which is the situation for a lot of kids. That if you had alternatives to what is currently a one-size-fits-all, that I think we would all benefit from that.
That's a great answer. That's something I've noticed. We tend to cater to the lowest denominator, unfortunately, in classrooms. We
cater to the lowest denominator, and if we had school choice, I think there would be an entire enterprise devoted to those that are on the lowest rung, if you will, to implement methods that currently can't be used because everyone's in the same classroom, as opposed to segregating out kids with special needs. We're all special. We all have different. We all have different needs, and there are different ways to address those needs.
Do you see that as something that's economically viable?
Well, very, very economically viable. It's beyond economically viable. It would save trillions of dollars. It's literally saved trillions of dollars. Right now, there's home educate. You can educate yourself on the computer with, is it the Khan Institute? You can educate yourself all the way through college, utilizing the computer for no cost. Implementing those your computer interaction with human interaction that can come to play, and very effective for a lot less money. And I am talking now about programs that do exist in the country that have been very successful doing just that kind of thing. In the context of this question, the best thing that the federal government could do when it comes to education is to abolish the Federal Department of Education. The Federal Department of Education gives each state about 11 cents out of every dollar that every state spends, but it comes with 16 cents worth of strings attached.
Right.
What we don't understand is it's a negative to take federal educational dollars. Abolish the federal Department of Education, give education back to the states, 50 laboratories of innovation and best practice, and that's exactly what you'll have. You'll have some fabulous success that will get emulated by other states because we're so competitive. You'll also have some horrible failure that will get avoided for the same reason. We're very competitive, and why would we want to duplicate a failure that Wisconsin may have implemented?
Right, we can learn from each other on that one.
But 50 laboratories working on that is a far superior system than Washington knows best, Washington top down, which since its implementation in 1979, I don't think people realize the Department of Education
it's really new.
Is really new. And if you look at educational performance relative to the establishment of the Federal Department of Education, they seem to be in tandem.
Interesting. I'm going to have to start poking into that data. I haven't looked in that arena before.
Jimmy Carter established the Department of Education.
Of all people.
Of all people.
Huh.
That and the Department of Energy.
Department of Energy, really?
Yes.
How do they fit in?
How do they fit in? Aren't they? They're supposed to make us energy independent. I can't think of really anything that's come out of the Department of Energy that. Don't get me wrong. If you look at the green space is getting more efficient, but it's not anywhere close to where it needs to be economically viable. Abolish, get the federal government out of that business, and that business will improve dramatically.
So can I assume that you would feel the same way about the Federal Reserve? I know that's sort of a totally different topic, but...
Well, I would abolish the Federal Reserve if given the opportunity. What we need to do is stop printing money.
Right.
We need strong U.S. dollar policies as opposed to weak U.S. dollar policies. If we abolish the Federal Reserve tomorrow, the Treasury could and would still print money because they would have to do that. They printed money before there was ever a central bank, and in other countries where there's no central bank, they print money. But that's what we need to stop. So we need to balance the federal budget. We need to promote savings, so I'm advocating the fair tax, which will promote savings. And it's one thing to borrow money. That's okay. It's another thing to print money. That's what we need to stop. And we need to balance the budget and then embark on actually paying back the $15 trillion in debt that we've racked up.
Well, thank you very much, Gary Johnson. I appreciate you coming this evening, and hopefully we'll have you back.
Good. I'm going to hold you to that.
All
Jason,
right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your being a terrific advocate for a whole bunch of different.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's still confusing to me how many things I have my hands in. So thanks again, and we'll catch up with you down the road with our next video. Thank you very much.